It's January 14th, 2019, and we've got a whole bunch of exciting new game announcements for you on this week's Roll for Crit News Roundup. The Lord of the Rings is coming back to the tabletop in the form of a brand new board game from Fantasy Flight Games, which they just announced. It's a fully cooperative game for between 1 and 5 players, in which you'll get to play as many of the famous characters from the Lord of the Rings series. And it comes from 2 designers who have worked on other Fantasy Flight titles, including some Descent and Mansions of Madness expansions, and those are certainly 2 games that I think you're going to see some comparisons to when it comes to this new Lord of the Rings title. It uses an app, just as those 2 do, and the app will control many of the creatures and encounters that you have as you play. You're going to be exploring different terrain, which the game will instruct you which tiles that you use as you go on. But for combat encounters, you're actually going to be able to go to a separate board and kind of zoom in on the action for more tactical grid-based combat. Each character also will have their own skill deck, and those are completely unique to them, and those also imitate the skill check that you see in other Fantasy Flight games, where in order to pass a test, you'll need to normally roll a die to see if you succeed. In this game, that's going to take the place by flipping the top card of your skill deck to see if you get the correct symbol that you need. And you're going to be able to upgrade that deck, gain new abilities as you continue, because there's going to be a campaign mode, or you can play in standalone scenarios, and because it's app-driven, each time that you play, there are going to be little differences. You can unlock side quests. So a lot of exciting dynamic things at play. Of course, Fantasy Flight has done Lord of the Rings before, the LCG and, many other little spin-offs here and there. So that's something that they're familiar with, and we've seen Lord of the Rings in other places in board games, such as the War of the Ring and Hunt for the Ring series. But this feels like the first time, we've seen this really kind of traditional Fantasy Flight style miniatures, co-op, combat, exploration, adventure game that kind of covers all these different bases. And I know, we both love Mansions of Madness and Descent, although we don't really play it too much these days, but there's certainly systems that are very interesting, and especially that app integration. When I saw this, I thought this seems like such a perfect execution, such a great way to take this property and use it. I'm super, super excited to try the game out.
The cool thing that I'm really excited about, what looked like with the app, was it seemed like instead of, if you played the Mansion of Madness game, the way it works is you pretty much just scroll through, you click a scenario, and then it shows pretty much the layout of the house, and you'll grow out. But it looked like it showed the whole map of Middle Earth. And maybe like completing this mission, you see 2 more dots glow up, and that could be like a really interesting, I think, mechanic. I would love for them actually to do it with something maybe not Lord of the Rings, not because I don't like Lord of the Rings, but I feel Lord of the Rings is much more, it feels more rigid because it's like, this is the story, the actual story. Mm-hmm. When if you take something, even Cthulhu, which it sort of has that, you can be a bit more lenient in what you come up with.
Well, I think that's actually interesting that you say that, because reading the article, the announcement article, it sounds like this is not following the story of Lord of the Rings.
I assume they have to take some liberties.
It's said, you're not, they haven't said what the story, well, they kind of have alluded to a little bit of it, but you're not dealing with the ring. It sounds like it's not the story of Fellowship or anything like that.
The LCG too, I
think Gloomhaven is another game a lot of people have said this kind of reminds them of. It's that similar kind of sprawling, epic type of dungeon crawling adventure. There's a lot of really cool aspects of it that I'm really excited to find out more about. It comes out pretty soon. It comes out second quarter, they said, of 2019, and you can pre-order right now, and if you do through the Fantasy Flight's website, you're actually going to get these custom play mats for each individual player.
I think 5, because that's the max number of players the game can hold.
Right. And they'll tell you where you can put your cards and stuff like that, which is cool.
Not the most essential thing, which is nice, because then you don't feel guilty if you couldn't pre-order it, but a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, so I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'm happy. I want to jump into it and play it. It's Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle Earth, and it'll be available soon-ish.
Renegade Game Studios is proud to announce Proving Grounds. This game is actually the first in a series called the Solo Hero series, where the games will all be designed for the solo player. This game in particular follows Maya Strongheart, in which she tries to fight against conspirators who killed her mom. Didn't try, they were successful. And she's got to prove her worth in sort of a gladiatory style arena. This game will come with different modules, so you can sort of play the basics and then try different modules, or throw them all in and see if you can really prove yourself. And it will actually come with a little novella written, so you can actually know the story that's behind the entire game series. I'm not sure if that in particular would go with all of them or is it just this game, but that's still a pretty cool little thing. This game was also designed by the creator of the games like Fuse, which I know is very popular. I like the idea of the solo game series because, one, that series usually means they all fit nicely on and look pretty on a shelf. But the solo series pretty much allows that you can play it when you want to. I mean, if you look at most video games, a lot of them sell because they're solo games, not just the multiplayer ones. So it's nice to see more of a solo game market, like strictly designed for solo, not it happens to have a solo mode tagged in. Being more of those games being seen in the marketplace.
Yeah, we talk about solo games a fair amount on the show. We like playing them. We're always excited, at least I am, when a game has a solo mode. Like, that's really fun. I feel like this is the first time we've seen a really major established publisher really pushing a solo lineup. Like, most of the games that are solo only that I can think of are indie studios, things you see on Kickstarter. But unless you can think of something.
They mostly are. It's usually like, oh, this game is like Mansion Madness. It has solo, but it's not advertised as a solo game.
When you look at I guess Friday is like one of the biggest ones. That's a fairly big name publisher, but even that's like a little small game. This is a whole series, you know.
That's never something like that, and I think part of it is because let's face it, when you think of tabletop game, you think of a bunch of people around a table. You don't think of one person alone, just with some tea and something, playing a game by themselves. But I think, there are plenty of people who are like that, or at least maybe need a break to have that moment. And I think this series could be perfect for that.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really happy that they announced it. And I also like the look of the art in the box. It has like this old school, it almost looks like an old PC game or something, like the way the design with this border.
I'm curious, because as I said earlier, this one comes with a little novella. Would you want all the games to be something that have like a theme, or would you want them to be very different? Like maybe one that's just an abstract game, because I don't know if you want a novella for square met triangle.
It's cool that they all seem to take place in the same universe, and I think they even kind of alluded to the idea that you might be able to link them up somehow. I don't know if that means mechanically or just like you could play them back to back as a story or something. But yeah, I think it's cool. Maybe they do maybe there's like 3 games in a series that are linked, and they do like another 3 in a different theme or something. That could be something cool.
So this goes for about $35 and will be actually coming out this April, which is, once again, pretty close. So we'll hopefully get to try it out soon and see if it really shines as a solo game.
Another new game announcement from Z-Man Games. It's called Noctiluca, at least that's how I'm going to pronounce it until I'm corrected in the future, from designer Shem Phillips, who is well known for his work on the North Sea series, Vikings, Raiders, etc. This is a brand new game on the more abstract side of things. Noctiluca are these jellyfish-like colorful creatures that live in the sea, and they are highly regarded for their use in crafting different kinds of potions and healing elements. So you in the game are players who are trying to go out and collect those creatures. They are represented by 6-sided dice, and there's a board where you're going to dive in on your turn and try to choose the best path to find the best colored dice for your specific recipes that you need. You're going to have cards that show you which colors you need. You're going to try to build them to get points, and each player will have a secret goal for one specific color, and you also get bonus points for getting a Noctiluca of that color. There weren't too many details about how you actually choose your path and collect things that I could find, so I'm curious to hear the more details about that, as well as I'm not sure why they're dice specifically as opposed to just being a token.
Right.
I couldn't find anything about if you roll them or anything like that.
Yeah, I couldn't find either. So I assume that part of it's not just, oh, I want to get the most orange. Like, I could do that, but if I take this path, I'll hit 2 6 oranges, and maybe they're worth more in that case. So that could be another big reason. There's a secret goal thing is interesting. Granted, there's only 4.
It's pretty simple.
And if you see someone go for a high blue one, you're like, okay, he's probably the blue player. And I don't know how much, I guess, I don't know if you call it like hate drafting, and when you do drafting games, like, I'm going to take those blue for you, because you may be like, no, I just got to finish my stuff. So, but it does sound interesting, especially with the choosing your path. I don't know how that would work, and we'll have to see more, obviously. Yeah,
it looks like a pretty simple but pleasant to look at abstract game. And this is another one that actually has a double-sided board, and one side of that board is specifically for solo players. So there's another solo tip for you that's bleeding out into other games, it seems. So it's called Noctiluca, and you can pre-order it right now at Z-Man Games' website.
The Transformers card game has released the name of the next set in their series, Rise of the Combiners, which is set to release this March. And they've shown us some of the cards to actually add a lot of new mechanics which are interesting. First off, some of the battle cards will now have stars, meaning not only will you have to worry about what your character star value is, but also what stars are in your deck. But the really interesting thing is the combiners. If you don't know, in the Transformers universe, combiners are pretty much a bigger robot made of 5 smaller robots. But those smaller robots also have sort of like their vehicle or alt mode along with the bot mode. So in essence, there are 3 different things they have to worry about. So instead of making some weird 3-sided card in some 3D shape, the way the game will work is you actually will fold the cards in half. Those huge cards, which will have sort of the basic alt and bot mode on them, but the back will have a partial piece of full artwork, almost like Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which if you get the 5 combiners and you combine them together into the big one. This was really interesting to me because this feels much more like a board game aspect, like folding of cards or something, than like a trading card. Usually when you think of trading cards, you're like, I'm gonna take this and double sleeve it and like perfectly flat. When they're literally like, yes, you will be bending the cards.
Well, I do, because it does look like you're bending them, but they're kind of like they're designed to be bent. There is kind of a crease there, so it isn't quite like you're like destroying the card. But it is a very it's cool that they're doing something, you know, when the game came out, having those bigger cards and the fact that they were double-sided was sort of a more innovative take on things. And it sounds like they're not just saying that's it, now we're just going to go business as usual. They're already, 6 months later, doing another really weird thing.
That's with Metroplex also in between with a big card that...
Even bigger, yeah.
As far as I know, no one has a sleeve idea for yet.
Just a plastic bag.
Yeah, at this point. But I really do like the fact that, I mean, usually when you think of trading cards, they're like, how can we make a shinier premium card that will sell for more? In this, they're like, how can we really make the gameplay shine through? Which is a much more interesting take than you'd expect from, in essence, coming from the people who made trading card games popular.
I think that it makes sense with the Transformers brand since they are all about toys and new weird action figures. So they're kind of toyifying like the card game. It's a legacy trading card game now.
That's what we need to make. Well, actually, isn't every legacy trading card game almost a legacy game?
Yeah, but they should come out with one that's like a really rare card, and after you use it, you have to rip it in half.
Oh my god, I think that was called anteing.
That sounds good. I'm into it. In addition to games coming out in a few months, there are some brand new games that are available right now. First up, there's Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, the card game based on the Binding of Isaac video game, which I've heard good things about. There's a brand new expansion for Dixit, the 10th anniversary expansion, which brings back artists from a bunch of their old expansions to come together to create all new cards you can mix and match into that fun party game. There's a game called Monsterlands, which we had as a Kickstarter pick a while back. It's sort of a monster hunting game. And then finally, there's the new Arkham Horror LCG set, Return to the Dunwich Legacy, which is a special cool little box that has some extra goodies that you can add into that Dunwich Legacy campaign.
Yeah, it's pretty much the Nightmare mode if you ever played the games from the Lord of the Rings. Thank you, I was totally
LCG.
I have the first one, I don't have this one, and it's actually really good to have, even if you're not playing the Nightmare mode, because it comes with that beautiful box with dividers for the set, pretty much. It's definitely, I think, if you're planning to continue on the card game, those sets are actually fantastic buys.
And you have a copy of Monsterlands as well, I believe.
I do. I haven't fully played it yet, but hopefully you'll be able to get more when we get more time to mess around with that.
Yeah.
And Dixit, I mean, that's an old game, so it's never made our top 10, but I think those are games Dixit is a game we'd recommend highly for, especially if you're on the new coming in the board game. It's really fun and light. The art is just really pretty.
Definitely.
And it mixes with Mysterium, which was our number one a while back.
Yeah, I think Mysterium honestly replaced Dixit for us, but Dixit's sort of a lighter, it's easier to play with family and it's faster as well. At any rate, they're both fun, lots of good games this week, and a lot of big announcements this week too, and games that aren't that far away. It's early in 2019, but we've already got some pretty big, interesting games to look forward to this year, so pretty exciting.
I guess actually sort of another small story, but Gen Con tickets are on sale now, so you can pick those up now when you get the chance.
I'm glad they mentioned that. Yeah, go get those badges before they sell out, and maybe we'll see you there and play a game with you. I don't know. But until that day comes, if we do or don't see you, we're still going to be here on YouTube, and we want to hear from you in the comments section, so let us know what you think about these stories. You looking forward to the new Lord of the Rings game, or any of those other games that came out this week? Anything else on your mind? Let us know. Or you can follow us at some other places like, you know, Instagram, Twitter.
Somewhere in Middle Earth. We're a little lost right now.
Yeah, I'm in Mount Doom. I'm in the lava. It's not good.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
This has been Roll for Crit News.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.